This morning, driving in Pismo, I did see the crew working on the trail. I was quite excited to see these people in the pouring rain, up in the mud. It was really kind of exciting, but I knew what it was, so I was just like, yes, I'm really happy about it. So looking forward to hiking there. I had this up because it's a very important concept, even though it doesn't necessarily have that much to do with what I'm talking about tonight. It goes back to the fact that we were built to live in deserts and jungles and whatnot, and run away from animals that want to eat us. And since we don't have those situations that often anymore, even though I was once attacked by a pit bull, we've transformed those internal systems into adaptation with what we have now. So now when someone comes and says, we want gun control, your reaction is, well, that's, well, not my reaction, not necessarily your reaction, but some people's reaction is, that's just unacceptable because that's somehow attacking me. That's somehow attacking what I believe in, something that I hold dear. So we have transformed that coping mechanism that we have with someone who's actually trying to kill us to someone who's attacking our beliefs. So our beliefs have become so important to us because we have so much imagination that we think that our beliefs are just as important as our bodies. So the original topic of this, the original title of this talk was Lying by Distraction, because I wanted to really talk about GMOs and how we're actually looking at the wrong place when we're looking at GMOs, but it got expanded and we decided to do capitalism as a whole and how it affects everything. So let's go and talk about how capitalism and money actually affect our health. My credentials for talking about this subject, really, there really aren't any credentials out there that could allow you to come up and stand here and be an expert at it. But I'm kind of interested in things, and I, don't want to say that I don't want to overreach what I know. So I'm going to try to stick with it as much as I know, as much as what I know, because even Albert Einstein, as smart as he is, he couldn't stand up here and give you a talk on poetry, because he really doesn't know anything about poetry. And that is something that I want you to always be aware of when you're listening to someone, because this goes on quite often, where you have someone who's an expert in one field, and he decides, you know what, I'm going to go and start talking about all sorts of other things, where he has no real expertise, and people take his word for it because, well, his name is Albert Einstein. Next. I didn't come out too good. Anyway, this is just my my slide, 4 o'clock in the morning, in a one-man tent in the Sierras, freezing, and I woke up and I had the word credible on my forehead, so I must be credible. But anyway, my credentials: I have internet access, which is very important. I have genuine interest. I'm a critical thinker. I have no beliefs, or at least I like to think that I don't have any beliefs, and we'll talk about what is the difference a little bit between a belief and something that you know. And there's really nothing here that I'm trying to gain. I'm just here to talk to you. There's no capitalism at all. Next. This slide is not a great slide. Can I turn the slide down?
Yeah.
Is that going to help?
Turn it the other way.
So this is an fMRI, a functional MRI of the brains of the brain of one person. I've shown this at least 2 years, I think, but it's a very important slide, so I want to show it to you. The parts that are red are parts that are active. And the first column shows the brain of this person looking at a blue car. The second column shows the brain of that person with his eyes closed, imagining that he is seeing the blue car. The third column is the first column minus the second column. If you notice, there is no red anywhere in this picture, which means this picture is identical to this picture. So if you experience something, and subsequently try to imagine that same experience, your brain cannot necessarily tell the difference. Next. The next thing I want to show you is a picture of some baboons. And one thing which is very different between these baboons and humans is that all primates can be in tribes of up to, or prides, or whatever you call them for primates, of up to 250 members, but most commonly somewhere between 20 and 50 members. And you will never get these animals to get up and go and mobilize to go and, fight some army across the world. They just cannot conceive of such abstractions. The other thing is that these tribes are all based on interpersonal relationships and what you know and what you expect. They do not have any reason to try to form a nation, to form a larger tribe. There is no real advantage in it for them. And they don't have the imagination it takes that we have developed over thousands of years, because 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, we were not able to conceive of a nation either. We were tribes. And so at some point something happened that made humanity kind of organize in the way that we are today. Next. So you always have to try to recognize that we have so much imagination, so much ability, that there may be some places where we are not necessarily reasoning through things, and we are buying some of the things that our mind manufactures as reality. And this is in part goes into how capitalism can survive and take advantage of some of the situations that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Next. So in the past year, I read a very good book called Consciousness and the Brain by Stanislaus Dehaene. And he talks a lot about how the brain works, and this is a really great summary of the latest and best in brain science. Next, please. He talks in that book about the fact that 80% of all the information that comes into our brains comes through the eyes. And so the eyes, as a result, have been our visual system is the most described, best understood pathway in our brain. And the way that it works is that when a signal comes into your eyes, it goes to the back of your brain, and in this area we recognize the raw basic understanding of a picture falling into the different parts of your brain and showing a picture, and then that picture has to be analyzed through different routes. It starts back here and starts moving towards the front of your brain, which is the most evolutionarily developed part of your brain. It's the very front of your brain, which is what separates us from primates and lots of other animals, in that fact that we have a much larger forebrain and prefrontal cortex. And so in the back, in the occipital lobe here, the signal gets transmitted over and over through different neurons that some of them are specialized for seeing how far something is. Some of them are specialized for seeing how fast something is moving, whether it's moving towards you or away from you, whether it's oriented horizontally, vertically, it's a round object, what the colors are, and so on. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, by the time the signal reaches here, you have a picture. You have seen all that there is to see, and then what happens once the signal progresses beyond that point is that we begin to analyze. We begin to say, okay, here's a person with a mustache and brown hair, and yeah, okay, now I'm beginning to recognize him. Yes, that's who it is. It's Patrick is seeing in this. in this room where I'm speaking, okay, now everything is being analyzed and understood by the more analytical parts of the brain. However, let's say for the sake of argument, what you saw instead of someone you know are some stripes. And these stripes are all of a sudden, they're about 20 feet away and they're coming at you at, pretty blazing speed. And if you are going to be wasting your time going, it's a jungle, these are beautiful trees, oh look at the stripes on that tiger, he's beautiful but he looks hungry. If you start